So I said we're called to be joyful, like we're called to live in joy. And I've had a hard time explaining this to other people as to why I feel like I'm always in a good mood. I I'm always in a good mood. I'm always smiling. I'm always happy. I'm always in a good mood. I'm always looking at things positively. You can ask anybody I am with that I'm always in a good mood. And like people I work with, they're always talking about how they're if I'm ever like a little quiet or like seem a little upset for a second, they're like, it's shocking because you're always in a good mood constantly, and every time I talk to you, you're in a good mood. And how can I be joyful in a world so evil? Everybody complains about everything. This is penalizing. This is unfair. This is that, and there is evil everywhere. Satan is the prince of this world. That is the title of this podcast, and it's you cannot forget that. That is an important thing to remember because that this world is corrupt and it's evil. But we're called to joy because to love and to be loved by Christ is the fulfillment of joy. Most people look at obedience most people look at obedience to God's will as not having the freedom of choice and not having autonomy to make their own decisions. But it's different. I totally disagree because you're not a slave to God. If you live in God's will and what he wants for you, then you will feel joy and you will live a better life objectively. You might not have more money, you might not have more materialist things. You will live a better life if you live in God's through God's will. That idea of freedom of choice. You we all know these people and you might be one of these people. You're a slave to sin. You're not a slave to God. You're a slave to sin. And you think that you are being smart by it's like the people who drink themselves to death or smoke cigarettes and kill themselves doing that. It's like you think it's fun until it kills you. And then it's like, well, maybe it wasn't worth it. And it's the same thing with any sin. I I don't know, this idea of the freedom of choice and being able to make your own decisions. We're allowed to follow his will and we're allowed to not follow his will and therefore not living in joy. There's a verse from John 15. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Now remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remained in his love. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends, for everything that I have learned from my Father I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last. And so whatever you ask in my name, the Father will give you. This is my command: love each other. I was talking to my wife about Charlie Kirk, and I it's sad, and I don't want that to get misconstrued. That it is very sad for the kids to lose their father, but the number of people he brought closer to Jesus, as crazy as it seems, it's like that's the risk. That's the risk of doing that. That's the risk of doing this. That's a risk of proudly professing your faith in Jesus Christ, that people will hate you for it, and they really will. People, a real Christian won't hate you for not being a Christian. They just want you to become a Christian. That's what a real Christian would do. They're not called to hate you. They're called to love you, and to live in joy, and to show that joy through their love. And the world will hate you though if you profess your love for Jesus Christ, and it depends on your faith. Like if you believe in him, then Charlie Kirk's death is very sad. But that's that might be the outcome sometimes. And Jesus says it. He said it. And it's sad. It's very sad for a kid to lose his parent. But unfortunately that's the game. The devil is the prince of this world. not the prince of the next one. And unfortunately, this world is fleeting much faster than you can imagine, and it seems to go faster and faster by the day. So why am I so joyful in an evil and corrupt world? And I could give reasons like I got an amazing wife, I got amazing kids, I have a good job, I feel like I've been blessed with the ability to complete tasks well. Like I have a skill set that I can be paid a decent amount of money for. But all that stuff is fleeting. Like, my wife's gonna get ugly one day. I'm gonna get ugly one day. My kids are gonna grow up, and they're gonna have their own lives, and they're not just gonna be that 3.5 year old daughter who just wants to show you her dress. It's just like, I think that's what I'm saddest about for Charlie, is that his kids, like, he knew the risks when he was doing, but his kids, they didn't take on that burden. But my joy is not my own. It belongs to Christ, as his unfailing love for me has given me life and in turn given me joy. And I know how it ends. I read the book. I read the last chapter. I skipped ahead. I know how it ends. If he can conquer death, I can conquer my sins. And you can do anything through Christ. You might not believe it, but you can.